See you at halftime.
To the Farrell Center in Waco, Texas, as number 23 Baylor plays its final game before opening Big 12 play. A matchup with Texas Southern today. Moments ago, Texas Southern head coach Mike Davis spoke with his team.
So tonight, I'm telling you, we can keep this number right here. Points off of turnovers, second chance points, and free throws to about 10 to 15, you'll give yourself a chance to win the game. Another opportunity for us to get better. Now, I'll be very disappointed on the ride back knowing that we didn't fight. And I ain't talking about no cheap shots. Everything needs to be clean. And the zone that they play, we come out and with the same execution we did the last game, we got a chance. It's our last opportunity to beat a ranked team.
Ted Emmerich, Reed Geddes with you courtside. Texas Southern, Reed, maybe 1-10, but that's what they have done throughout non-conference against teams from major conferences. That is fight, even though they've lost the majority of the time.
They come into games like this with a specific purpose, and the purpose of this game is to go against a Power 5 conference, excels in zone defense. They cannot give up easy baskets like the way they just started the game. They're going to have to really fight on the defensive end if they're going to stay in this game.
Taurean Prince scoring the game's first basket. Prince coming off a career-high 34 points in Baylor's last outing Wednesday against New Mexico State. Texas Southern around this time last season knocked off Michigan State at the Breslin Center. Also Kansas State in Manhattan. They are capable of an upset. Prince off the steal and it knocked out of his grasp.
Yeah, that should be Texas Southern's ball. That was terrific defense that time. David Blanks hustled down, and I think he slapped that ball off of Taurean Prince's leg. Watch the hustle. He slaps it down and comes right off of his leg and never touches him. That was great hustle transition defense.
Instead, it stays in Baylor's possession. Blanks, the preseason Southwestern Athletic Conference Defensive Player of the Year. He is a terror on the defensive end. There's Prince on the wing, being watched by Orlando Coleman. Giving it up to Al Freeman with under 10 on the shot clock. Freeman, high arcer, didn't even touch the rim, down to 2 on the shot clock, but Texas Southern comes away with it. This is Blanks in transition, feeding Coleman in the corner. Texas Southern playing their 12th consecutive road game to start this season. Malcolm Riley off the mark, and Freeman snares the rebound, coming the other way. Prince, a pull-up 3. That's offline. Blanks the board. Texas Southern has won the SWAC conference tournament each of the last 2 years and have gone to the NCAA tournament. Coleman knocks down a 3, and Texas Southern has the lead.
Now, we talked about going against that zone defense. Texas Southern's coming off of a game in which they played Syracuse. So back-to-back zone defenses, and yet very different looks. This will be a challenge for them, attacking the unique zone. And we heard Mike Davis talking about the keys to the game, and he talked about rebounding and second chance points. Another key is they're going to have to play better post defense. That's twice that Baylor's had just simple, easy baskets. They don't have to win the rebounding margin, but they've got to keep it close. And then Baylor usually dominates points in the paint. 3 times, Ted, this year, Baylor's had more turnovers than assists. They've lost 2 of those, and they don't need one guy with 30 and everybody else with 7 or 8. For Baylor, the key is they spread the ball around, and Scott Drew would much rather have 5 guys in double figures than to have 2 or 3 up in the high 20s.
And 4 players averaging double figures as it stands for Baylor. Bears coming in at 9-2. Their only losses to ranked teams on the road, Oregon and Texas A&M. A 3-pointer by Ish Wainwright, who's discovered his stroke over the last 2, setting a career high in points, 12 and 14 his last 2 games.
Seems to be getting better for Baylor every single game. Last 4 games, averaging 13 points per game. Combined, that's more points than he scored all of last year combined.
Derek Griffin being fed inside against Gathers. That'll be a fun matchup today, but Griffin could not get it to fall. Medford, Baylor's point guard, pivoting and feeding Gathers. Prince up top, Medford from the corner. Got it. Lester Medford coming off a 10-point, 12-assist, and most important, no turnover game against New Mexico State. He's on the board.
Comes into this game first in the Big 12 in steals per game, fourth in assists. And if he knocks down threes, he doesn't have to beat you out there, but if he can keep defenses honest by knocking down 3 or 4 a game, well, that is a huge advantage for the Bears.
Well, remember his 3 against Vanderbilt earlier this month to beat a ranked team here at the Farrell Center. This one, good stroke from the corner from only a 26% three-point shooter.
Well, the key to that was he caught the ball shot ready. You saw him sliding instead of turning his shoulders, and he was locked and loaded before that ball ever got to his hands.
This will stay with Baylor. Bears trying to get it into Medford. Yes, Scott Drew, who Medford reminds him of. Medford, the first-year starter at point guard, replacing Kenny Cherry, and Baylor's had a few good ones at that position. Says he has the burst, the energy of a Pierre Jackson from a few years ago.
Well, that's some serious burst, because Pierre Jackson could get by you in the blink of an eye, and Scott Drew has had some awful good point guards. And right now, Lester Medford, 17 career starts, a 4-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. That is an enormous number.
Freeman on the wing. His scoring has dipped in December after a hot start in November. Back to Medford. Guarded by Blanks on the edge. Screened by Gathers. And Prince is bumped. The foul on Malcolm Riley for Texas Southern. Baylor with a good start. Their last game before starting Big 12 competition. Up 10-3 here at home. Here in Waco, Baylor out to a 10-3 lead against Texas Southern. Ted Emmerich, Reed Geddes with you. 4 different Baylor players have field goals. Texas Southern with just a 3-pointer by Orlando Coleman here at the Farrell Center. Slight crowd, as you might imagine, the early start. And also, it seems like everybody wearing green and gold is in Orlando for the Russell Athletic Bowl a little bit later this afternoon, which you can catch on ESPN. That's why this game was moved up to a 2 o'clock start local time. Gathers penetrating. He couldn't finish the dunk, and it ends up in the hands of Riley. But a foul will give it right back to Baylor.
Listen, Rico Gathers did a nice job of meeting that ball. You see the run through by Derek Griffin, and then Rico taking it strong to the rim. But as the pass was coming to him, he reached out and met the ball, and otherwise we'd have had a highlight going the other direction.
That's a freight train coming down the lane. It's a good thing Griffin did hit the deck. Brent's driving. In and out. Gathers with a second opportunity, and Gathers is headed to the free throw line.
Well, what a matchup we're going to have inside with Rico Gathers at 6'7". He goes about 260. I mean, he is as strong as he looks. And then for Texas Southern, Derek Griffin, 6'7" freshman, is also a football player. Rico looks like he plays football.
Right.
But I mean, we are going to have an unbelievable physical matchup inside between those two.
Gathers an improved free throw shooter, although he misses the first attempt here, 69% on the season. His first 3 years at Baylor shot just 58% from the line. Averaging a double-double, he ranks 9th in the nation in rebounding at just a shade over 11 per game. Now Baylor with an 11-3 lead. A little bit of pressure from Baylor. Texas Southern moves it across. David Blanks running the point, or a combo guard, according to head coach Mike Davis. Chris Thomas barreling through, but he traveled on his way to the bucket.
This zone defense for Baylor, Texas Southern, you look at it at the point and you think it has all of these holes, especially down in the short corner on both sides of the backboard, but Baylor does such a good job of tempting you to throw that pass, and then they recover and take it away, and you find yourself trapped and in trouble. Very difficult zone to attack.
Freeman loads up from distance. That's no good. And Blank secures the rebound for Texas Southern. Jose Rodriguez in the game for the Tigers. Could not convert. Freeman the other way for Baylor. He lost control of it. Blanks feeding Thomas. And the transfer from Marshall finishes. Chris Thomas averaging 13 points, 4 rebounds, and a team-leading 4 assists.
Well, you got to think Baylor's going to go back inside. Rico Gathers has got a 6'5" Malcolm Riley on him. Again, Baylor comes into this game enjoying a plus 20-point differential advantage in points in the paint, and so far every time they've gotten in the paint, they've scored.
Coleman turns, could not hit. Here's Freeman after the bucket. Last trip down. All 5 starters for Baylor have scored now. 13-5 lead. Thomas, the floater, over Gathers. No good. Freeman has a look from 3, and he drains this one. Al Freeman, a team best 44% from outside the arc.
If you shoot in the high 30s, you're a good shooter behind the three-point line. Anything over 40 is outstanding. And Al Freeman, you talked about it, started the season for Scott Drew so hot, but 44%. Well, I tell you what, that means on the scouting report, you don't give him that look. You don't let him come down in transition, and he's looking down at the floor, sees that line, and pulls up in transition.
Baylor up 16-5. Of course, coming up, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. It is the New Year's 6, 2 of the greatest days for college football. It all starts at noon Eastern. Oh, would that be the Houston Cougars, Reed Geddes?
You know, I see 6 really good football games.
Right.
But I just can't unsee Houston versus Florida State and Tom Herman and the Cougars, and what a season they've had. And those are all going to be great games. But let me tell you something, partner. I'll tell you which one I'm going to be watching.
Yep, there's no doubt. Find that couch, settle in. 2 triple headers, back-to-back days, including the college football playoff semifinals on New Year's Eve. Coming out of the timeout, Jerron Martin missing the 3, but there's Orlando Coleman with the follow.
Holy cow, when that shot went up from the top of the key, he was outside the three-point line on the left side and dunked it on the right side of the rim.
Wow. Coleman, the senior from Birmingham, a transfer from Kennesaw State, one of several transfers on this Texas Southern team. Riley off the mark, too long, and Jonathan Motley has the rebound. Motley, the top scoring reserve in the Big 12 so far this season. Big part of this second unit for Baylor. Terry Maston short on the hook shot. Wainwright diving on the floor to save it. King McClure, the freshman from the free throw line. No good. Riley, the rebound for Texas Southern. Tigers coming in have lost 6 in a row. Their only win of the season came November 25th against UTSA, 91-80 in Las Vegas. Part of a tournament now, an and one chance, as Texas Southern has a chance to cut into this Baylor lead. David Blanks with the shot.
Orlando Coleman, not even in your screen when that shot comes up, comes flying in. You talk about rebounding effort. Hey, that has got to be a top 10 nominee.
Somebody could see that later tonight.
Send that one in.
Yes, because Coleman certainly sent it in.
You don't get 100% of the rebounds you don't go for. And so that's just rebounding effort. That shot was taken at the top of the key, and I'm telling you, Orlando started that play, and he was 24 feet away from the rim and ended up dunking it on the other side of the basket. That is tremendous effort.
David Blanks completes the three-point play for Texas Southern. Now he'll get a breather as the Tigers are within 6, approaching the 12-minute mark of the first half. Jake Lindsey, the backup point guard for Baylor, gives it to Prince. Foul called by Michael Greenstein, the opposite side of the floor. This will go against Derek Griffin of Texas Southern.
And for Texas Southern, number 24, Orlando Coleman.
Coleman back on the floor after that jam off the Martin miss. Maston bouncing it to Motley and lost it. Texas Southern has it. Here is Martin. Texas Southern has won the SWAC, either the regular season championship or the tournament title, the first 3 years under head coach Mike Davis.
Good pass.
Nice feed from Chris Thomas inside.
If you're going to attack the Baylor zone, that's where you do it. You do it along the baseline with penetration. You get to that short corner and don't just stand there, but attack.
Motley dumping it to his teammate Terry Maston, who goes up strong and puts it through. TJ Maston, the sophomore from DeSoto, Texas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, with his first points.
So look down in the corner of your screen. You see right there is where you want to get the ball and then attack. And a lot of times people get the ball down there and then they just stop. And that's where that zone will just swallow you up.
A 6-point game here in Waco. Baylor up 18-12. Texas Southern hanging around thanks to the play of Chris Thomas to Malcolm Riley. Brendan, thanks so much. Ted Emmerich, Reed Geddes with you here in Waco. Baylor up by 6. Texas Southern on the road to start the season. It is so unforgiving. This is what they do in non-conference. And this year, yes, their last home game was last season. They have not had a home game yet this year, but Davis feels like it truly prepares his team for the SWAC.
Well, and it's dual purposes for Mike Davis. Not only is it the obvious game guarantees, and you when you schedule somebody, you can do home and home. Sometimes you can do 2 at their place, 1 at yours. And then for a lot of programs, you just get a check to go play, somewhere between $75,000 to $100,000, guaranteed games. But for Mike Davis, it's dual purpose. It's not only the game guarantees, but it's his ability to prepare his team, not for the first 11, but to use the first 11 to prepare himself for conference. And look at the success Mike Davis has had with that formula over the years.
And with a basketball budget of less than $1 million, it's not all planes that Texas Southern is using for transportation. There are several 10 to 12-hour bus rides mixed in. It is a grind for this team. Life out of a suitcase, and oh, by the way, going to class too if you're a player on this team.
Well, and let's talk about not just Mike Davis, but his entire staff, because you got a group of kids and they're 1 and 10 and tired of getting their butts kicked, and they're like dragging their heads. But to stay positive and upbeat and find the silver linings and say, here's what we did well. This is preparing us, and getting the kids to believe that and buy in. That takes a tremendous amount of leadership.
Texas Southern has lost by double digits to every major conference opponent so far this season as Thomas slices through for the layup. Yeah, Texas Southern within 6 again.
That's the second beautiful pass by David Blanks. He was stuck down there and did not panic and kept his poise.
Thomas with 4 points. Here's Medford, being guarded by Blanks.
Baylor has such an incredible advantage in the paint, and I don't understand why they're not throwing the ball inside to Jonathan Motley. At 6'9", a serious advantage. And here's Blanks. Look, he gets double-teamed and doesn't panic. And then a nice job by Thomas of not just staying there, but go help your teammate. When he's double-teamed, don't just stand there waving your hand, but dive to the basket.
Medford will trigger in for Baylor. Midway through this first half. Medford getting about the Gathers screen. And watched by Blanks. Comes Gathers again. And now Freeman. Medford angling through. Freeman on his way to the basket. Missed it. Coleman has the rebound for Texas Southern.
Good ball movement.
Texas Southern settling in, down 10-3 early, but now the Tigers within 4.
Now, by far, Texas Southern's best possession down on the offensive end. They did not look to score on the first side or the second side, but the ball switched sides 2 or 3 times before they found their shot.
Malcolm Riley burying the jumper. He's got 4. 4-point game. Motley against Rodriguez, fouled before he went up.
Now here's that last possession. Look, the ball's on one side. They penetrate, kick to the other, second side. They kick it back. That's now a third side, then attack the middle. And that is perfect execution by the Tigers.
Texas Southern 0-8 all time against Baylor. Average margin of victory for the Bears in this series, 18 points. They won 75-49 last year. Motley missing the front end of the 1-1. It'll be Texas Southern ball.
Right now the Bears are really flat, and Scott Drew needs some energy out on the floor, and somebody needs to show some leadership and slap somebody on the butt or high-five someone, do something to get momentum going in this game.
Because Baylor wants to stay sharp going into their Big 12 opener Saturday at Kansas. Bears have never won in Lawrence, 0-13 all time. Turnaround jumper by Malcolm Riley.
Well, they have found a sweet spot right there at the free throw line, and what's happening is Baylor's guards are flattening out and leaving that post, a high post entry pass, and Texas Southern doing a really nice job executing against the zone.
2-point game. Prince watched by Coleman. Wainwright didn't like what he saw. Back to Prince. 10 on the shot clock. Prince going up. He traveled. So Texas Southern can tie it or take the lead here. And they'll take a timeout. 8:26 remaining in this first half. Texas Southern down by 2. That's the second half of it. Rodriguez the rebound for Texas Southern. Staying close in this first half in Waco. Rodriguez to the rack and an offensive foul. Rico Gathers drawing the charge.
That was good dribble penetration, but a little bit of too much penetration by Jose Rodriguez. If he'd have jump stopped right there, look at the bottom of your screen. Standing down there, Chris Thomas is wide open. Rarely are you going to put the ball on the deck and get all the way to the rim against a 2-3 zone. Penetrate, make the defense collapse around you, contract, and then pitch that ball out.
Gathers, even at 275 pounds, willing to give up his body.
Texas Southern running a little bit of zone. This is a 3-2, and it looks a little bit like a 2-1-2, but that guard will come out of the middle.
Medford with the skip pass to Prince, trying to find Wainwright the opposite side. Chris Thomas steps in front, and Thomas is fouled from behind by Prince.
You know, we're only 13 minutes into this game, but I think Mike Davis has got to be extremely pleased with the way his team's not only played on the offensive end, but defensively. They are making some changes and adjustments and forcing turnovers against the Bears.
Only the third team foul against Baylor.
See if Baylor takes away that high post this time.
Rodriguez puts it on the floor. Prince tipped it from behind. No foul here. Prince with the steal. Prince in transition, out to Freeman. Passed up the three, finds Wainwright in the opposite corner. Back to Freeman, dump it to Gathers. Missed the hook shot.
A really good transition defense that time by Texas Southern.
Thomas all the way to the rack. Gathers with the block. The foul is called. And that'll be on Prince. Back-to-back fouls on Prince. He's got 2.
Watch the transition defense, and you see all the white shirts running out, and it's a 3-on-3, but they cover, they close out, not with great balance, but they close out, force the Bears to reset their offense.
Chris Thomas, as well-traveled and as troubled as they come in Division I, but he's found a home at Texas Southern. Originally committed to Xavier in 2012, backed out, went to Chipola Junior College in Florida, ended up in jail, missed their postseason in 2013, signed with Manhattan but tested positive for marijuana before he even played a game. And Mike Davis brings Thomas on, has surrounded him with a solid culture, and Thomas is realizing his potential as a college player.
Well, Texas Southern within 3 points, and remember their best player, Derek Griffin, is over there on the bench. 17 points, 10 rebounds. He's had double-doubles in 3 out of his first 5 and 1 rebound away from 4 double-doubles. Picked up 3 fouls in the first 3 minutes of this game, and Texas Southern doing it without their best player.
Riley off the mark, but a long offensive rebound corralled by Chris Thomas. Thomas only a 23% three-point shooter. He wanted Orlando Coleman on the drive, and a little miscommunication as Coleman barks at him heading back the other way.
We already saw the hops of Orlando Coleman, and he was thinking that was going to be an alley-oop, and that pass was thrown behind him, and Orlando Coleman's pointing up saying, hey, throw it up there to the rim.
Thomas, one of the many reclamation projects that Mike Davis has taken on at Texas Southern. Medford trying to break down his defender, Martin, and it leads to Maston.
Terry Maston set a screen and then did a duck-in move where he just stepped in front of the defender and got great position.
Baylor up by 5 with just over 6 minutes to go in the first half. Coleman off the side of the backboard. Freeman hopping his way through transition and then turns on the speed and puts it in. Al Freeman with 7 points for Baylor. Martin.
Baylor's adjusted very well, taking away that high post.
Orlando Coleman feathers it in from the baseline.
Texas Southern really mixing up their defenses. They had success with that zone, and almost every time down, they're changing the look they're giving the Bears.
Texas Southern had it down to 2 at one point, but Al Freeman buries the three-pointer as the Bears extend the lead to 8, and Freeman is in double figures with 10.
Already more double-figure scoring than all of last year for Al Freeman.
Riley fouled on the elbow jumper. Scott Drew seeing his team and trying to stretch out this lead, Reed. Al Freeman a big part of it.
Doing a nice job in transition, but it's his jump shot. And when you're playing against a guy that shoots 44% from behind the line, you have got to make him drive. Turn him into a driver. You got to close out and do not let him set those feet and pull up.
Freeman in November averaged 16 points, a great start to his sophomore season, shot 56% from the floor. But here in December, averaging just 8.5 points on 36% shooting. Scott Drew says that opponents are keying in on Freeman now that they've gotten a look at him. He was such a surprise the first few games of the season.
I think surprised everybody. I think if you ask the Baylor coaching staff and shoot him up with truth serum, they'd say, you know, that may have been the most pleasant surprise starting this season. Very few things went right in that loss to Oregon, but Al Freeman certainly did. 4 of 8 from behind the line at 22.7 rebounds. Off to a great start.
Maston looking for Freeman on the perimeter. Blanks defending, and a foul is called. That'll put Texas Southern up to 10 team fouls, and Baylor should be in the double bonus.
Team foul number 10.
So Freeman has an opportunity at 2 shots here, an 85% free throw shooter.
If you ask Mike Davis that with 4 minutes to go, you're going to be within 6 points and your best player, Derek Griffin, will have only played 4 minutes, would you take that? He'd say, well, I don't want my best player foul trouble. Yeah. But yeah, I would take that.
No doubt about it. Gathers takes a seat for Baylor. So Freeman makes it a 7-point lead for Baylor here late in the first half. Texas Southern will play its first home game on New Year's Eve, Thursday against Hampton. 12 straight on the road to start out.
Well, that game wasn't supposed to be at home. That was supposed to be at Hampton, and they had scheduling problems with facilities, so Texas Southern unexpectedly getting a home game.
Supposed to be on the road as Riley hits from the baseline to close to within 5. The first home game was supposed to be the SWAC opener against Southern on Saturday. There's Freeman. That three-pointer was rejected. Coleman got a hand on it. John Higgins signaling, along with Michael Greenstein, that it will head the other way. Baylor with a 5-point lead late in the first half, their last game before starting Big 12 play this weekend. All right, Brendan, Dino, look forward to that. Here's Scott Drew and 23rd ranked Baylor trying to separate itself from Texas Southern with under 4 minutes to go in the first half. Ted Emmerich, Reed Geddes with you. Baylor opens up Big 12 play on Saturday against Kansas. You just had a chance to sit in on the Baylor huddle, Reed.
As you would imagine, Scott Drew always very positive, very upbeat, and he was really talking about on the offensive end when they got the ball back and emphasized that there's a hole up there at the high post area and wanted to attack it.
Gathers out of control. It's an offensive foul against the big man. Brian Carey hitting the deck, drawing the charge. Carey only 5'9", 160. Looks like a bowling pin compared to Gathers.
You should get more than just a charge when you stand there and take that. You should get like a bonus or a badge or something.
Gathers' first foul. Texas Southern's Malcolm Riley scoring as the Tigers continue to hang around.
All right, let's see if Baylor attacks the high post like Scott Drew was just talking about.
Lindsey and Medford, the 2-point guards on this roster, playing together here in the final 3 minutes. Maston over Rodriguez.
That play was set up by a good screen by Rico Gathers. Screened in on the middle of that zone and made for an easy post-entry pass to Maston.
Maston, that was 6 points. He averages 5 per game in the season. Knocked out last touch by Baylor. Brian Carey will inbound for Texas Southern. Malcolm Riley with 5 20-point games this year against the likes of New Mexico, Clemson, Washington State. Carey from deep.
Goodness. When you say deep, you mean like really, really deep.
I'm talking the Curry zone. Only the 3rd game for Brian Carey. He's played a total of 7 minutes this season. Maston could not convert, gathers, cleans up from the other side.
That last jump shot might have come from the B.
It's Brian Carey's first points of the season. Carey calling for it. Instead, Rodriguez from the corner, and another triple for Texas Southern.
Oh, what a great half by Texas Southern. I mean, they're doing it without 17 points and 10 rebounds in the form of Derek Griffin sitting on the bench. And for Mike Davis, he has been there all but the first 4 minutes of this game.
Medford, the lob to Prince, doesn't go down. Maston comes down with it, and a whistle underneath the basket.
Malcolm Riley with the foul.
Riley commits the foul for Texas Southern.
The last 2 threes, it was from the B.
Wow.
He was standing with his feet on the B, and then sometimes, as happens, good outside shooting is contagious. Suddenly you go, man, we can knock down threes even with Derek Griffin sitting on the bench. If we can keep this score close, you talk about an excited locker room at halftime. Texas Southern is going to be very, very upbeat.
Griffin did not come off the floor against Syracuse on Sunday at the Carrier Dome. He had 20 points on 9 of 9 shooting in 40 minutes. But foul trouble so far today, yet Texas Southern is very much in this one. Aston knocks them both down, and Scott Drew wants a timeout with just under 2 minutes to play here in the first half.
Timeout. Your Bears has their second charge. Timeout.
Coming up Monday, how about the first big Monday of the season on ESPN? First at 7, Marcus Page and 7th-ranked North Carolina battle Florida State. Then a top 3 showdown early in Big 12 play. Number 3 Oklahoma, number 2 Kansas. Both games streaming live on Watch ESPN. How about that to start out in the Big 12? Well, Malcolm Riley, leading scorer for Texas Southern so far today. He's in double figures, either from underneath the basket or from 15 feet away.
He's been really good finding gaps in the zone, and he's not just standing in one place. When he sees a teammate in trouble, he's flashing to open spots, been very effective. Baylor out of their zone and in a man-to-man defense.
And Baylor has played more man-to-man this season compared to previous years. Brian Carey traveling on the drive.
That's a really nice adjustment by Scott Drew. You call a timeout, you do something you haven't done the entire first half, and it kind of knocks Texas Southern off balance.
Jake Lindsey, the baseline. Medford, open look for 3. Yes, sir. His second 3-pointer today.
Nice find by Jake Lindsey.
Rodriguez misses, gathers the rebound, and a travel on Medford.
Scott
Took on
Drew,
some contact.
Yeah, Scott Drew saying, look, he's got to give him room to turn around. When somebody's up in the air, you can't come up underneath them. We'll watch again. This is the good find by Jake Lindsey out to Medford, and then down on the other end, it was a quick outlet, but that was a good call.
That doubled the Baylor lead, 38-32. There's Carey. Thought about the 3 from that distance. Driving through, kick it out. Riley for 3. He got it.
Malcolm Riley's having himself a half of basketball in Waco, Texas.
Riley up to 15 points to lead Texas Southern. 3-point game in the final minute of the first half.
Well, this is a 2-3 zone in the back line for Texas Southern. Nobody over 6'4".
Lindsey looking for Wainwright, and a rare turnover from Jake Lindsey, who leads the Big 12 in assist-to-turnover ratio, nearly 5-1. 7-second difference, shot clock and game clock. Rodriguez turning, gathers around, but he left the layup short. Ran a circle around Rico Gathers, could not finish. Last shot for Baylor. Down to 4 seconds. Maston turning around on the hook just before the buzzer. And Baylor heads to the locker room with a 5-point lead.
Nice finish. A terrific find by Lester Medford. Instead of settling for a bomb, he sees Terry Maston with position down low. And boy, just a good unselfish play by the point guard Lester Medford.
Terry Maston with 10 points in the first half to give Baylor a lift. It's sleepy so far. Early start in Waco, but Baylor up by 5. As we send you to Brendan Fitzgerald and Dino Gaudio for the ESPNU halftime reports. About ready for the start of the second half here in Waco, Texas. Baylor up by 5 against Texas Southern, and we revisit the comments of Texas Southern head coach Mike Davis to his team before the game.
So tonight, I'm telling you, we can keep this number right here. Points off of turnovers, second chance points, and free throws to about 10 to 15. You'll give yourself a chance to win the game.
And Reed Geddes, his team, has executed that game plan pretty well.
Yeah, points off turnovers were even 9-9. Second chance points, Texas Southern down just a -4. And Baylor with just 5 free throws. And as a consequence, Texas Southern's got a chance to win this game.
Texas Southern within 5. They'll have the ball to start this second half. Malcolm Riley right there, the leading scorer in the game. He's got 15. And oh, by the way, the Tigers are hanging in despite getting 0 production from their leading scorer and rebounder, Derek Griffin, who is in foul trouble in the first half. He has 3. He is on the floor to start the second half. But Griffin did not score. He did not grab 1 rebound in the first half. He averages 17 and 10. Here's Riley on the wing, guarded by Ish Wainwright.
If I'm Texas Southern, I get that ball to Derek Griffin immediately and see if you can get him involved in this game.
Set the screen for Thomas. Instead, here is Orlando Coleman from 17.
You know, ordinarily, if I'm Baylor, I say, hey, go right at him, see if you can pick up 4. But the way Texas Southern played without Derek Griffin in the first half, I'm not sure that needs to be a focal point.
Coleman has 9. Riley has 15 to pace the Texas Southern attack.
Things for sure. You've got to imagine that Griffin's not going to be very aggressive down there with Rico Gathers.
Gathers tipping it to himself, regains control, 5 on the shot clock. Prince a long 2, left it short. There's David Blanks, who had 6 assists in the first half for Texas Southern. Now Orlando Coleman trying the wraparound to Griffin, lost it out of bounds. It'll be Baylor ball. And it'll actually stay with Texas Southern. John Higgins overruling Roland Simmons. We revisit your keys, Reed.
We talked about that you don't have to win the rebounding battle. Rebounding 14-7. They did a good job. Texas Southern points in the paint. Dead even, 18-18. Baylor usually dominates that. Baylor did a good job. They're right side up, more assists than turnovers, and they're well on pace to having 5 in double figures. So just the way we thought it would play out.
Griffin couldn't slam it on the putback after Blanks missed the layup. It's Baylor ball. Yeah, Baylor outscores its opponent in the paint by 20 a game.
20, top 10 in the country.
Freeman in and out. Prince gives Baylor another chance. He misses, grabs his own rebound, Gathers, fights for another opportunity. Now Wainwright on the other side, got a hand on it, but here comes Texas Southern, and it's a double dribble on Chris Thomas as he bangs into our table.
Standing right here in front of us, and John Higgins said you double dribbled. He goes, yeah, well, he grabbed my jersey.
Right.
He was holding my jersey.
That's it. That's it. Thomas is saying they're hanging on to me now. They're hanging on to me. Early second half, Baylor with a 3-point lead. Their last tune-up before heading to Kansas to open Big 12 play on Saturday. Prince inside.
Now that play is set up because of a screen from Rico Gathers. It's a double stack down there, and as the cutter clears, Rico steps into X5, the guy playing defense in the middle of the floor, and a wide open post-entry pass to Torian Prince.
Only Prince's second bucket. He started 1 of 6 from the floor. Griffin turns it over for Texas Southern.
Here's that play. Watch Rico Gathers step into Malcolm Riley and just makes for a nice, easy post-entry pass. That play is set up because Al Freeman cut hard and cut to the corner and dragged the forward out there with him.
Prince with 5 in the game. He's 34 points away from 1,000 in his career. Turn around this time off the side of the rim. David Blanks leaving it for Coleman. Short on the 3. Rebound by Derek Griffin. And he's fouled.
The numbers that Derek Griffin has put up, he has only played in 5 games. He had 19 and 12. He had 17 and 12. He had 23 and 13. And then the last game against Syracuse, 20 and 9. How's that for making an immediate impact?
And for a player who hasn't stepped on the court in 2 years, he is a redshirt freshman, a football star turned basketball standout. Coming out of high school in the Houston area, the 33rd ranked overall recruit by the ESPN 300 in 2013, signed with Miami, didn't qualify, went to Texas Southern, went to class, became eligible, and now on the field and on the court for Texas Southern.
Played at Rosenberg-Terry with the twins, the Andrew and Aaron Harrison that played it and starred at Kentucky.
Rico Gathers now with 7, and Baylor has a 6-point lead.
Well, as good as Derek Griffin has been in this short tenure as a college basketball player, Mike Davis is going to have to share him because a young man's going to play football on Sundays. That's what's in his future. He is a wide receiver at 6'7", 225.
Caught 11 touchdown passes for Texas Southern this fall. Riley, baseline, fadeaway over Prince. Griffin trying to tip it out to his teammate. Shot clock ran out, reset, and Chris Thomas lays it in.
John Higgins put his hands out and said no, Baylor controlled it, so that was not a shot clock violation.
Wainwright with a little bit of space, kicks it out to Freeman. Driving in, Al Freeman for 2.
Well, we keep talking about it, but Derek Griffin had to turn and open up his shoulders and just allow Al Freeman to get to the basket. Did not want to risk that 4th foul.
Freeman leads Baylor with 13. Blanks offline from distance. Prince thought about the 3. Now Freeman again. Chris Thomas trying to nab the steal. And Texas Southern within 6 here early second half in Waco. Baylor up 46-40.
$9.99 at Sonic all month long.
Baylor's led just about the whole way, 46-40 over Texas Southern early second half. Rico Gathers known for his rebounding prowess, but what about Derek Griffin on the other side? As we mentioned, a football standout as well. The wingspan here. That's a red zone target right there. Imagine trying to find Griffin for 6.
That is a deep corner route from the 5-yard line and just toss it up for grabs. Well, what an athlete Derek Griffin is.
1.1 rebound, battling foul trouble today. He's got 3. Baylor up by 6 coming out of the timeout. Chris Thomas looked like he was shaken up, diving to the floor just before the break. He's not on the floor at the moment. That ball was kicked. Stay with Baylor.
Lester Medford got to the paint and never looked at the rim, and therefore the defensive player never had to honor the potential that he may shoot. When you jump stop and get there, just lift your eyes and make the defense come get you.
Wainwright sending Freeman into the backcourt. It's over and back on that errant pass. Thomas springs right up off the bench. He's coming back in.
Now, he's been very solid. Not spectacular numbers, but 6 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists right now for Chris Thomas.
Thomas led Texas Southern with 15 points against Baylor last year in a 75-49 loss. Here's Thomas, been watched by Al Freeman. Griffin comes over to set the screen. Thomas, like it up. A couple of bounces on the rim. Wainwright the rebound for Baylor.
Nice transition defense by Texas Southern.
There has not been a single fast break point scored in this game by either team. Gathers throwing to nobody in particular. A turnover.
Now, Rico Gathers, when you wall him off and don't give him angles and play belly-up defense, he struggles to score. And look at the outstanding defense. That's Jose Rodriguez at about 6'4", guarding a 6'7" full-grown man. And very nice job defensively by the Tigers.
See, that Gathers was trying to throw it to you. He just didn't realize that you're not eligible.
But I was open.
That's right. You're always open, Reed. Thomas trying to find Griffin on the alley-oop, but that pass a little too wide, even for Griffin.
Yeah, that's trying a little too hard to get Derek Griffin involved, and that's what he excelled at in high school. The Harrison twins dribble, penetrate, and toss that ball up there around the white square, and Derek Griffin will go get it.
Freeman steps into it for 3. His 3rd three-pointer today. 16 points for Freeman. Baylor has led by as many as 11, up by 9 at the moment.
Oh, very good movement right now offensively for Texas Southern. Well, I bragged on them. All 5 of them moving. They ran an initial cut, and then all 5 just stopped. And then suddenly nobody moving ended up not being a very good possession.
Thomas missing the shot at the end of the clock. He's able to deflect it away from Gathers.
Al Freeman's 3rd three-pointer, and boy, you see him squared up in the confidence. And you and I got here about 2.5 hours before the game, and Al Freeman in here by himself with one manager, just shot after shot after shot, and really grooving his stroke for this game.
Freeman worked on the mechanics of his shot all summer, trying to improve in that area coming off the bench last year. This is his 1st year as a starter, as a sophomore. Medford,
good defense.
Griffin and Martin combining to give Medford a little trouble. 7 on the timer. Wainwright, defended by Riley. Ball knocked out of his hands. And a foul against Baylor as David Blanks came up with it.
Well, a bad offensive possession leads to a good defensive possession, and here they are having a chance to make up. But look at the defense. Everybody's locked up. They're moving their feet. Nowhere to go. Inside, outside. Very good defense by Texas Southern. Mike Davis is such a good coach, and year in and year out, as respected as anybody, and his team is very well prepared. You're rarely going to catch them off balance.
Of course, took Indiana to a national championship game in 2002. Also the head coach at UAB before landing at Texas Southern. Jerron Martin, the lefty, too strong. Martin was 6 of 10 from deep against Syracuse on Sunday. Freeman, and his shot rejected by Derek Griffin. Griffin saves it for Southern. Another chance for Martin. Again long. And a foul on the rebound. Freeman grabbed it. Riley commits the personal.
Defensively, Texas Southern just doing everything right, and that is the inside presence that the Tigers did not have in the first half in the form of Derek Griffin.
Jonathan Motley back in for Baylor as Gathers gets a blow.
Drew may be a little concerned with a lack of effort by Rico Gathers that last 4-minute spurt.
King McClure back on the floor for Baylor. Prince knocked around. Baylor saves it. Medford finding Motley in the lane, hanging and hitting. Motley's first points. And Baylor has matched its largest lead. Medford defending Jerron Martin in the paint.
Lester Medford helping with his hands instead of his feet, and instead of moving his feet over there and defending that on-the-ball dribble, helping with the middle of his chest, he just reaches his arm out and picks up a silly little foul.
Texas Southern has hit only one of its last 9 shots.
Would be a good time to go inside if you're Texas Southern.
Griffin wants to set the screen for Blanks. Blanks rejects it, and Jonathan Motley rejected his shot. Here comes Medford for Baylor. Kicking out to Lindsey. Lindsey gives it up to Medford. Screen by Motley. Deflected, but Prince controls it. Down to 9 on the shot clock. Medford tees one up and knocks one down.
His second three-point field goal of the game.
Medford only 26% from three-point land, but he gives Baylor a 14-point lead. Medford, defense and offense. Baylor has its largest lead over Texas Southern midway second half. Bowl Mania rolls on tonight. The Russell Athletic Bowl. Speaking of the Baylor Bears, against number 10 North Carolina, 5:30 Eastern. Then at 9, number 20 LSU against Texas Tech and the Advocare V100 Texas Bowl. Both games on ESPN. Also streaming live on Watch ESPN. By the way, that game, the Russell Athletic Bowl, the reason that we're here with a 2 o'clock local time tip. So this game was moved up.
I'll tell you what, the Baylor Bears, what a football season they've had. No Seth Russell, no Jarrett Stidham. You got Shock Linwood is out, Corey Coleman's out, and yet I guarantee Art Briles' team is going to put up a fight this afternoon.
Told you that baby was ready for his nap. Texas Southern has gone to sleep a little bit. They haven't scored in 5 minutes. That one halfway down for Rodriguez. And a whistle. Baylor on a 10-0 run. And we have another timeout on the floor. Baylor up 14 against the class from the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Rodriguez spinning against McClure, spinning twice and finishing.
Now that's points in the paint now, 22 to 26. So just +4 for the Baylor Bears, and they average +20 in games this year. One of our keys to the game for Texas Southern, doing a nice job.
Lindsey locates Motley inside, blocked by Griffin. David Blanks out to Jerron Martin, as open as can be, and he airmailed it. Medford looking for a target. Lindsey kicking out. King McClure, the freshman, a triple.
King McClure in high school was an absolute scoring machine, a top 20 recruit, and has not gotten an enormous amount of playing time and still adjusting to Division I basketball.
Scored 2,700 points at AAA Academy in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. An offensive foul. Medford drawing the charge. The first big Monday of the season on ESPN coming up. Number 7, North Carolina and Florida State to lead things off. Then it's off to Lawrence. Number 3, Oklahoma. Number 2, Kansas, the nightcap. Both games streaming live on Watch ESPN. Of course, these Baylor Bears will see Kansas on Saturday in the Big 12 opener.
For Baylor, 2 of their first 3 on the road in Lawrence and then on the road in Ames, Iowa. And how's that for getting a Big 12 slate started?
That's why this game is so important to Scott Drew. He wanted his team to stay sharp going into conference play. Gathers for 2.
Now Lester Medford making really good decisions on the floor right now, running his basketball team for Scott Drew. Baylor out of their zone playing man-to-man.
Jose Rodriguez driving past Freeman and able to put it home. Rodriguez with 9 points. Baylor in control, up by 13.
1-3-1 zone defense right now for Texas Southern. You want to split the guy up top and split the guy down bottom and look for diagonal passes.
Prince, skip past to Freeman. Freeman floating in the lane. Friendly bounce.
This game, Al Freeman's been very composed, very poised, hasn't taken bad shots, made really good decisions when to pull up and when to attack.
Freeman with 18 to lead Baylor. Prince with the block on David Blanks. Baylor taking command in this one. Medford with the feed to Rico Gathers. And Al Freeman, the leading scorer in this one, with 16. Baylor in control. Okay. Baylor trying to improve to 10-2 on the year before they enter Big 12 conference play. Al Freeman leading the way. He's got 18 points, a game high, as the Bears are up 15 against Texas Southern. A team that came in at 1-10, but the 2-time defending SWAC tournament conference champions. Chris Thomas fouled on his way to the basket.
One of our keys to the game for Baylor was not to be upside down. So 3 times this year, they have been upside down. They've had more turnovers than assists. In 2 of those games against Oregon and A&M, they lost. Here today, 21 assists, just 10 turnovers. They have 3 players with 5 assists. Boy, that is tremendous. 21 assists on 24 made field goals.
Baylor's ball movement has been pretty all year. They lead the nation in assists. And we've seen that at times today against Texas Southern after a slow start. Rodriguez in the lane, rimmed out. Wainwright has the rebound for Baylor. Wainwright, step back, off the back of the rim.
Right after bragging about good passing, Ish Wainwright took a bad shot, and Rico Gathers was wide open inside, and then a 3-point on the other end. That's a 5-point turn in 1 play.
Bad shot by Wainwright, good shot by Blanks over Prince. Baylor was up to number 16 in the AP poll before the loss to Texas A&M 10 days ago. It served as a wake-up call for Scott Drew's team.
I mean, they got whacked upside the head. And so a lot of times coming out of November and December, you may have a little bit of a false security in who you are as a team. And for Ish Wainwright and all these Baylor Bears, they got slapped pretty good down in College Station against a very good Texas A&M basketball team, I might add. So they've lost 2 games and both against ranked opponents.
And on the road, Prince fouled before the shot went up.
Chris Thomas with the
Drew's
foul.
team shot only 36% in that 19-point loss to A&M. Turned it over 16 times, got out-rebounded. As Drew said, everything that we pride ourselves in, we did poorly. From rebounding to points in the paint to overall toughness, and that's something they've really worked on over the Christmas break. Rodriguez off the turnover, a Euro step to the hoop.
Beautiful move to the basket.
Rodriguez in double figures for Texas Southern. He missed all of last year with a torn MCL in his knee. 10-point game. Medford triggers for 3. In and out. And it's Texas Southern ball.
Now 2 or 3 sloppy possessions, not very good defense, and Baylor Bears were on the verge of blowing Texas Southern out of this game, and the Tigers are crawling their way back into this.
Scored the last 5.
Well, big possession for Texas Southern right now.
Tigers 1 of 6 from 3 since halftime. Rodriguez, pass stolen by Prince. Doesn't have numbers. Prince trying to finish himself, and Chris Thomas prevents the layup with a foul.
Just a careless pass by Rodriguez. He did not even see Torian Prince denying that passing lane. And Torian Prince, nice job running through, but boy, that was sure careless by Rodriguez. Look at this pass along the line and just like didn't even see him. We talked about an important possession, and it was not what Mike Davis had hoped for.
This is the first free throw for Baylor in the second half.
This is a Baylor team that is a very good free throw shooting team, especially the last 8 games as a team shooting just a hair under 80%.
Prince goes 1 for 2, only 6 points to follow up his career-high 34-point effort against New Mexico State last week. Rodriguez, blocked by Gathers, and out of bounds to Baylor. Rico Gathers leading this team in block shots, now with 11 on the season.
Just a point and a rebound away from another double-double would be his 30th of his career and would put him just 4 away from the Baylor all-time record held by Brian Skinner.
Gathers has been breaking a few of Skinner's records over his years in Waco.
You put your name on a list with Brian Skinner, whether you're above him or below him, and that's pretty elite company. And now Al Freeman is having himself an elite basketball game.
He splashes in his 4th three-pointer of the game. Freeman with 21. And Baylor's up 14.
Just a point off of his career high he had earlier this year against Oregon.
22 in that game in Eugene. Thomas answering for Texas Southern. Under 5 minutes to go. As we mentioned, Baylor at Kansas this Saturday to start Big 12 play. Bears have never won at the Phog. 0-13. Great pass to Terry Maston, who will head to the line.
Terry Maston's got to finish that play. That was a terrific pass, and he finished it with his weight going away from the backboard. This is Al Freeman with his 4th three, and then right after that shot, a nice pass to Maston, and you got to finish the play going through the backboard, not away from the backboard.
Maston, great free throw shooter, 83% on the year. He's got 11 points. We call him TJ. The nephew of former Texas Tech star Tony Battie, former 5th overall draft pick in the NBA, played 15 years in the league. Maston 2 for 2 at the line. Thomas running before he had control of it. There's Brian Carey, the 5'9" guard who hit that three from long distance in the first half. Now Thomas against Prince. Malcolm Riley from the corner for three. Riley's first point since halftime. He's got 18 in the game.
A good decision by Chris Thomas on the dribble penetration and then pitch out to the wide open Malcolm Riley.
Brent skip pass to Freeman, driving the baseline in the forest, had it knocked out. David Blanks loading up. That's short. Brent's with the rebound for Baylor. And Medford slows it up. Brent's trapped near the Baylor bench. And the timeout is granted. Brent saving himself with the timeout. Baylor with a double-digit lead, heading toward the finish line here in Waco. Brendan, thanks so much. We revisit the preseason coaches poll in the Big 12. Baylor projected to finish in the middle of the pack. Reed, does that sound about right? What do you think
It
now?
sounds about right. You got to move West Virginia. You got to drop Texas and get Oklahoma up there, just maybe 1A and 1B with Kansas, and you got to get Iowa State up higher, but West Virginia exceeding expectations. Look, the Big 12 is going to be just a gauntlet again this year. 83% non-conference winning percentage, 5 teams in the top 23, 2 Player of the Year candidates, Buddy Hield and George Niang. And I tell you what, it is going to be an absolute knockdown, drag-out. OU at 11-0, still one of the few undefeated teams. And yet, in spite of all of that, the Big 12 championship is going straight through Lawrence, Kansas, my friend. One more time.
11 consecutive Big 12 titles for the Jayhawks, either shared or won outright, and that's where Baylor begins its Big 12 road on Saturday. As you mentioned earlier, for Scott Drew's team, it's not just at Kansas this weekend, it's at Iowa State in the next weekend.
Yeah, that's exactly right. What a start. The Baylor team is going to beat some people that you don't expect them to. And, you know, I cannot wait to see that OU-Kansas game the first night of Big Monday.
Yes.
Because it's going to be as good as it gets. Lon Kruger's team, they are undefeated, and they deserve it. They are as good as anybody in the country. And everybody in Lawrence, don't get all worked up and start flapping your arms because I said that. They are, and that is going to be an absolute battle. And then Iowa State, when they're knocking down shots, and it's going to be fun. You know, we were talking about Texas dropping down from the preseason where they were just Cameron Ridley broke his foot. And so for Shaka Smart's team, it's going to be an adjustment because Cameron Ridley was averaging 13 points and 10 rebounds per game, along with Rico Gathers, one of the just a handful of kids at Power 5 conference schools averaging double-doubles.
That is an enormous blow for the Longhorns. As you saw, with Kansas in action later tonight here on ESPNU against UC Irvine, Big Mamadou NJS, the Anteaters. Gathers sinking the free throw. 14-point lead for Baylor. Gathers with 11 points, and he's 1 rebound shy of that double-double that you mentioned. He's got 9 boards.
Obviously, running the clock is not advantage Texas Southern at this moment.
Thomas tried to go reverse side, got their own rebound, and Thomas is fouled. New Year's Eve on ESPN. It is the college football playoff semifinals. First at 4 Eastern, the Capital One Orange Bowl. Number 4 Oklahoma against number 1 Clemson. Then at 8 Eastern, third-ranked Michigan State battles number 2 Alabama in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Both games on ESPN and streaming live on Watch ESPN. Can't wait.
You know, it's funny because every time somebody asks me who I think, first of all, I know nothing about college football, but I pick somebody different every single time. You know, how is Clemson feeling slighted? They're undefeated. They're the number 1 team in the country, and I heard them talking about, yeah, we're getting disrespected. Really? Maybe not so much.
A lot of people like Oklahoma.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm not betting against Bob Stoops either. Right. And then I look over there at Michigan State, Alabama, and what I really think is you're going to have 3 really good college football games out of those 4 teams.
That's right. Gathers, knocked out of his hands. Gathers was credited with an extra rebound in the last possession, so he does have that double-double, the 30th in his career, 11 points and 10 rebounds.
5, now 4 double-doubles away from the all-time record at Baylor.
Prince on the wing. Baylor hasn't needed his scoring today after he had 34 against New Mexico State. Prince in single figures, and an offensive foul against Prince here. Changed that name on his jersey before last season, his junior year. His full name is Torian Waller Prince. He's repaired relationships with some members of his family off the floor. That's why he wanted to honor them, but he still goes by Torian Prince.
Next in line of a lot of unranked players that have come to Baylor, and Scott Drew and his staff have coached them up, and they came in unranked, and they will leave with a very legitimate chance to spend some time playing in the National Basketball Association.
Griffin out to Malcolm Riley over Freeman. Not enough on it. Gathers another rebound right on his season average of 11 per game. And Baylor's had 5 NBA draft picks the last 4 years. And not every one of them has been the top flight recruit.
Think about Quincy Acey. You know, you can just go down the line of players, Curtis Geralds, and guys that came in and just got coached up and developed. And I really feel like Torian Prince is going to be the next one on that list.
Baylor up 72-57, trying to lob to Griffin. And once again, a little too tall even for Griffin. Freeman to Gathers, missed the shot, and will head the other way.
Let me give you a hint. When you're throwing alley-oops, you throw it at the rim, because anybody can go get that. That ball didn't hit the backboard, and you're trying to make a spectacular play when if you just throw that thing at the rim, I guarantee you that Derek Griffin will go complete that pass.
Approaching the final minute, Riley missing from close range. Terry Maston misfiring with a new jersey. He changed from 31 to 32 during the course of this game. Perry, Rico Gathers denies him.
The only reason a player would do that is to blood on the jersey. You're allowed to go in and make a change.
Blanks off the mark from 3, long rebound to Blanks. Riley, another attempt at a triple. Griffin got a hand on it. Last touch by Gathers in the final 30 seconds.
You know, I had some games where in the first half I was so bad, I would have liked to have come out in somebody else's jersey.
Well, you wonder with Maston as Texas Southern scores on the inbounds play. David Blanks putting it home. Maston has the number 32, no name on the back of the jersey. And you're wondering, okay, what's going on here? This is certainly not a walk-on. It looks like Terry Maston. He scored in double figures. Lester Medford, the ball in his hands, certainly did too. Al Freeman, the leading scorer today for Baylor. 21 as the Bears were able to separate themselves from Texas Southern in the end. 72-59 the final as Baylor looks toward Big 12 conference play. Scott Drew's team now 10-2 on the season. Texas Southern 1-11 going into their non-conference finale on New Year's Eve. Once again, our final 72-59 Baylor. For Reed Geddes and our entire crew, I'm Ted Emmerich. We say so long from Waco. Now we head on to the studio. Brandon Fitzgerald and Dino Gaudio.